Blog Talk Radio. Well, hello. I'm CJ Miller, your host, who's been having some great technical difficulties getting into my own show here tonight. Oy, oy, oy. So I am so sorry, everybody. I actually was talking for about 4 minutes with my headphones, and then my partner James came to tell me that there was no sound. So it took me a few minutes. I'm actually talking directly into my cell phone now, so please excuse the sound quality. Yeah, it's Mercury retrograde, folks. What are you going to do? So welcome, my friends, to the CJ Miller Show, Surviving the Eclipse Season, Summer 2018. Hello, hello. Here we are. It's 7th of August, and it's like, it's the middle of the summer, and it's hot, and there's a lot of stuff going on these days, everybody. So I know you're feeling it. I certainly have been feeling it. People I love the most, and even those who I don't love the most, I've been feeling it very intensely. So I'm so glad we're coming together tonight. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to Green Heart Radio's CJ Miller Show. And, you do have a choice in your quality broadcasting, so I appreciate you joining me here tonight. And I'm so excited because, I just kind of spontaneously came up with the show today. Well, I knew I wanted to do a show, but I didn't know what it was going to be about. And, I'm always focused on the same kind of things: self-transformation, consciousness, learning how to be your best self, how to come to terms with your humanity and be in touch with your higher self more of the time. And that's always been my big focus. Even though I learn about a lot of other things, that's my main thing. And so that's where I want to come at this tonight. This is about the eclipse season and astrology and the energies that we're in the midst of now as humanity here on the earth. In 2018, deep into the shift. Can't believe it's been 6 years since we started calling it the shift, 2012. Or was it 2011? So more than 6 years. I've been doing radio for that many years, although lately I have not done as much. So I'm so happy to be here. This is really where it feels great to be with you guys. I hope more of you can join me as the show progresses. And, again, Mercury retrograde, I also couldn't get the chat working. So I'm sorry if you can't join me with the chat, but please, if you're listening to the show and you want to get a chance to be on the air with me and my other awesome friends, the phone number to call in, the guest call-in number is 929-477-3586. And if you would like to have your call answered when we have some time in the show, please press 1 to get into the host queue. So thanks for joining us. And I am going to I think we have my friend, if he's still with us, the 905 number. I believe that's my Canadian friend, Franco DeNicola, who texted me a little before the show and said he'd be calling in. So I'm so psyched. That's always a good thing when Franco joins the discussion. And for those of you who might know Franco DeNicola or might not know Franco DeNicola, I highly suggest you check him out on, just francodenicola.com. It's DENICOLA, DeNicola. And check him out because he's got a great retreat coming up, which I'm so excited to be going to. I just bought my tickets yesterday, and it's going to be at the Ecology Retreat Centre. I'm not exactly sure the name of the town, but it's right near Toronto, but, in the country nearby. And it's a lovely place. I was there last year with my partner, James, and we were there with Franco and Kimberly and the whole bunch of awesome people up there. And now I'm going for a 5-day event. It's going to be this fantastic transformational event. So we'll definitely be talking about that tonight, because if I was going to suggest anything that would help you through this time, this event would be one of those things. And that's why I'm going, because I could certainly use the support. And I've been kind of through the ringer and back, and I'm still standing. So I'm opening up the floor to people who want to call in and whatever questions you have, and we will be bringing on Franco. And I just want to make sure that I am covering the things that I said I would cover before we went into taking calls. I do want to just say that, August is always been a special time for me, because I have a lot of beloved friends that have birthdays in this month. And one of them is my dear friend Lainey, who is no longer with us on the earth. She is next week, the 14th, on Tuesday. So I might end up doing a show as a tribute to Helene Lipson next Tuesday, my beloved radio friend and best friend for many years, who passed actually 2 years ago in October. So it's hard to believe. But, I always think of her at this time, and she's still with me and works with me a lot. I know she does. And just want to give a shout out to her and all my beautiful friends who are Leos, as we're coming up to the Lion's Gate, which is a very interesting time. If you know anything about that and you want to share, I'm open to that, because I don't know a lot about it, but I think it sounds cool. And it's 8/8. It'll be 8/8/18 this year, and I know that's an interesting time. And then I know on the 11th it's going to be another eclipse. So this will be the third of the summer eclipses, and it's just been everything is coming up. I feel like this is a time. We've been told before, people, that we have to let go of our baggage, that we cannot take this baggage with us, our emotional baggage, our programming that limits us and holds us back. We cannot take that with us into the fifth dimension and beyond. Because how crazy, how scary would that be if we create, instant manifestation with all our worst fears? So it's so apropos that all our stuff is coming up right now. And it's just, I guess I have to be thankful, even though it hasn't been fun a lot of the time, dealing with my emotions. I don't know if you guys are dealing with it, but I've been dealing with family things. I've been actually working with Franco individually and doing some great work with him, and which I would highly recommend if he has openings. Franco is incredible. So even though I worked on it so well, you can't control what other people do, and we just have to go with the flow. And keep choosing to be our best selves, I think. So, excuse me. A little parched here. So here I am. I'm talking on my phone, so it feels almost like I'm having a conversation with you guys. So I'm so psyched to be back, and I'm looking forward to talking with you tonight. So let's see where we're at. All right, we're at 21:16. We have a little less than 2 hours left in the show, and so I am open to your calls, but I think I'm going to ask my friend Franco on, because he's a busy guy, and I'd love to hear about his retreat, and let's check it out. Let's see if this is Franco or one of my other Canadian friends. Who knows? Hello.
It'll have to be a surprise.
Yay! It is Franco. Franco DeNicola.
You're kidding.
Welcome.
I didn't know that. I need to check. I needed to check. So, thank you for confirming that.
You're so welcome. I'm sorry to give you.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. First of all, second of all, the sharing of the retreat and all the nice things you said. I mean, I was like, oh, I don't think I want to see anything anymore now. But yeah.
Well, hey, it's great. It's always great to hear your voice, Franco, and always a lot of fun when we're on the air together. It's been quite a while since we've done this, but I am so psyched to talk about your upcoming retreat. And what is the name of it?
Well, it's a self-discovery retreat, connecting with your true essence.
Nice.
So this one was set up because it's so timely for people, because a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff, like you were mentioning earlier, as you were, setting the stage for the show. There's a lot of stuff going on with people energetically, collectively. There's also systems that are getting weirder. The intensities of polarities are getting more intense, and so forth. And there are people that are losing, their balance in the essence of life, and almost feeling like they're lost, or that it's not even worth it anymore. They're feeling more confused. Depression is higher. They're feeling all the stress and so forth. Nothing seems to make any sense anymore. And really, the foundation to that is really losing connection, because what happens is, when we actually lose connection with who we are, the very foundation, the essence of who we are, we then only work within a mind, ego, program level. Now, that may have worked for a while, for many years, actually, and for many of us, several decades and so forth. But what's happening now is that that's being challenged. It's actually starting to break down, and different levels of realizations are coming up. So more confusion and things are coming up, because in essence you feel like you're at a place. Who am I? Where do I belong? What am I doing? What's this all about? Is this all there is with life, and so forth? And a lot of that is coming up, and then that's on top of all the other emotional stuff that comes up. All the stories, programs, belief systems, triggers, and things that may have happened to us in the past from our younger age, even as early as yesterday, right? And also stuff from possibly past lives, stuff that has been handed down. So it's a really intense soup, let's put it this way. Not everybody's going through the same level of intensity, but everybody's feeling something to some degree. Now, the ones that have chosen to kind of move forward, the souls that are pushing harder, they're feeling it more intensely. So the calling came very strongly to kind of create an environment, create this retreat for people to come there and work through that stuff and reconnect with their true essence, so that they actually get a strong foundation, energetic and conscious foundation. Basically remembering who they are, but going to the next level of remembering who they are is actually experiencing it, and really dealing with all the stuff that actually distracts us or separates us from that part of us. So this is the reason it's come along. And this is the first time I'm doing a 5-day in quite a few years, over 15 years now, because I've done longer ones, but it goes back into 2003 was the last one. That I did with a group of other people too, so it wasn't just myself as the presenter. But I always found that more time is more beneficial. Plus, I've been getting requests for the last 4 years. We would like to have something more than just the Friday night and the Saturday and Sunday, because realistically we need time to go through the stuff, the processes. We have to give you time for integration, time to connect with nature, time to connect with one another, we've put in a lot of stuff in this retreat, basically, not only higher consciousness processes, meditations, also helping people through whatever challenges they're going through, but we're also using, in the beginning, in the morning, we're also offering, yoga, and later in the day, at certain parts of the day, we're doing the singing bowls, which Milan's doing, and Milan and Joanna are also doing the yoga part. And
awesome.
So it's really a nice package. And the best thing is you leave your environment. You leave your regular day-to-day life, and you actually get immersed in a different environment, a different energy. It breaks the pattern that we've established. I don't know about you, but I'm sure that if you decided, say, okay, I'm going to stay home and because I got a lot of work to do, okay, and you have a lot of stuff going on, and you don't go anywhere, and you spend time doing your stuff and everything else. So, okay, you're going through things, but you find that it's becoming drudgery. You also find that you get stuck in patterns and you get caught up in cycles of some sort that really you don't end up effectively doing what you wanted to do. But then on another option, you choose to leave and go to somewhere, and you go to a completely different energy. You're connecting with different people. You're having exposure of something totally different. It actually gives you an opportunity to create a shift in you. And just because you get out of your own environment, you get a clearer viewpoint of what's going on. And this is one of the key things about the retreat, is also allowing you to look at your life and see how you could actually tweak it, adjust it, shift it, so that it actually is more in alignment with who you are, rather than, living a life that you've been kind of bought into and are stuck playing. That's basically the bottom line of it, the baseline. I mean, there's a lot more I could say about it, but, I'll let you do your thing. I'm not here to take over your show.
Of course not. But that was an awesome description of what's going to happen there, and I think that it's perfect timing. And you said so there was like a rush to put this on? I mean, you were wanting to do it later? Or what do you mean by that there was kind of a rush?
Well, there was an urgency for it to take place, okay? Because, I mean, the work that we're going to be doing there, for the participants that are there, they're going to have some personal experiences, okay? They're going to go back into the driving seat of their life. They're really going to connect with their higher self. They're going to get to know more of who they are, start making choices from a higher perspective, basically re-changing things. But at the same time, while we're doing that on a collective scale together in that group, that we are creating a shift in the collective, energetically and so forth. So the call comes from Gaia. The call comes from the collective. The call is also coming from clusters of higher selves that are, saying, okay, it's time to create another shift because, a lot of things are shaking up, but we need to also get the participants to really get on track with their lives, because as they do so, we are more powerfully affecting the collective, so that the changes that are waiting to happen and are happening can actually expedite and go into a deeper change, because people are seeing the chaos that's around the world. And the question comes up is, how do we make a difference? How do we change? I mean, when is this going to change, and so forth? Well, the thing is, we are really at the driving seats for the whole thing. And we're doing it collectively, but it doesn't require the 7.25 billion people to do it at the same time. It's really the key energy holders and the ones that have agreed to do so, the souls, the brave ones that actually have said, okay, I want to participate. I'm going to take the bull by the horn, and I'm going to do that. So as they're making shifts in themselves, they're also collectively creating ripple effects and also uploading the higher levels of consciousness that is becoming more available. The beauty is that more participants, you got more variance of this essence, this awareness and so forth, so that others can relate. Because when you're tapping into, say, for example, let me give you a simple analogy. You go to the library, there's only one book that's talking about one thing. And So you're looking for a topic. The topic, there's only one book that talks about it. Great, you go through it, you get stuff out of it, you get a confirmation within yourself. But a lot of times what happens is many people say, well, that's just one viewpoint. But if you go to the library and there are books after books talking about similarity of things with different perspectives, you're more apt to look at it and say, okay, I really need to pay attention, and I need to see what all these people are talking about and what all these people are doing and all their viewpoints and all their experiences. So in essence, it's a stronger confirmation. Yes, I'm on the right track. It's not that, I'm doing something that no one else is doing or anything of that nature. I feel more in alignment with that. So that's really what happens. And this is why coming together as a group, working together and so forth is so, so powerful and so important. So this is the calling that we were getting. The calling, like I said, from the higher selves, the clusters of higher selves, from the collective of the planet, from Gaia, and then, of course, the basic and basically also the individuals that want to get together.
Yeah, wow. Well, I can hear an echo of myself, so I'm hoping that people are not hearing that are listening to the show. So,
no, it's good. It's good on my end, anyways.
Oh, okay, good. So, what is going on though lately? I mean, I know you and I have had some talks, and I feel like it's, I'm going through my own individual stuff, and it seems like whatever is the things that we really need to work on, that's what's being pushed the hardest now. Is that what's happening for all of us kind of individually with this pressure that we're going through? It feels like an intense pressure. Is that really what's happening now, Franco? Can you kind of talk about the energy that we're going through now and why it's so chaotic? And
yeah, well, the energies that we're going through now are quite intense to get things moving, right? So basically it's waking up a lot of dormant operating systems that are in you that are very conducive to this new way of life, because this fifth dimension, for us to live in a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth dimension, really we've been programmed even from initial up to seventh. We have all those programs and levels of consciousness accessibility. We actually have turned most of it off. And so these energies are kind of stimulating us to at least activate the fifth dimensional consciousness within ourselves. So to stimulate, how can I call it, access and energy patterns so that we actually match with the planet's vibration. But while we're doing that, the stuff that is still very 3D, stuff that is no longer of serving us, and some of the stuff now that we're dealing with is the deeper stuff that we've kind of put aside, because even all the other, you've been going through stuff for a long time. Many people have for several years now. And but, it almost seems like a bottomless pit in some ways, but in other ways, it seems like, okay, it seems we're getting deeper now. And so that's one of the things, is not only digging deeper, it's getting to the root of it. Now, energetically, it's supporting us so it doesn't, crash us and, all of a sudden shut ourselves down so that we're going to take another 5 years to break out of it, or actually to what a lot of people call heal from the wounds, but they're not really wounds. They're basically, sometimes people say, well, it feels like somebody's doing surgery on me and removing parts and whatever else. Well, that's great because we're taking those parts out, but the adjustment is really, adjusting to function without those old components that, were playing a role in the whole thing. So in essence, this is what's happening, and then we keep getting some really, really, really strong pulses at the moment, energetically. The frequency of the planet, we're getting stuff being streamed from our own solar system and the galaxy. So, but again, all of it is supporting us. All of us is creating a momentum, and some of them are stronger because we're asking for to be affected by it. Others are being stimulated so that they can actually discover themselves a little bit more. So not everybody's getting kicked, in the stomach or in the knees or whatever it is to knock them down. It's some of them are being, with the energetics coming through, are being uplifted, but in some cases, or many cases for many people, that they're going to feel like, it's knocking the wind out of them. And it's really just so that they can actually see what's coming up for them and move through it. But at the same time, not only what's coming up for them is one of the things that's playing out, it's what's actually part of their operating system that they've adopted. So it's actually shaking that up too now. And this is why it gets to the point where people are starting to question themselves. I mean, this has started quite a while ago, but more people are questioning their life stream, their choices, their connections, their relationships, their what they put value in and what it doesn't have value anymore. And what was so important in their life, now they start noticing that another level of awareness comes in, and they can actually see it more clearly and find that it may not match their life anymore, their life stream. So that is also changing. And of course, we're also feeling with these energies, it's kind of restructuring our cells. It's restructuring how our information moves through our body, how our body responds, how our mind gets rewired so that other parts of it, then the DNAs are starting to get stimulated and reconnected, and that's more input of information coming in from other species. You have your chakras that are being elevated and so forth before they all merge into one. But prior to that, so you're starting to feel certain parts. You're going to feel certain of your chakras being stimulated and feeling sometimes a little bit more painful as they open up. A lot of the barriers that we may have had starts coming down. So insecurity starts popping up, feeling vulnerability and so forth. But these are all just programs and stuff. That's really what's happening. And then when you have these retrogrades and you're having all these eclipses and all these other fun things that come into the place, those are, again, part of waves of energy that come in that disrupt, our patterns. And sometimes they disrupt electronics. They do a lot of things. But it's not devious by any means. It's there to facilitate and assist us. It's getting that understanding, be able to feel supported within it so that we can actually work together is key at this time. It doesn't mean you can't do it alone, because that's not the case. It's like I have to be in a team for me to make, but it helps to be able to relate and connect with others too at the same time, because that way you don't feel like you're the only one going crazy, which at times does feel that way when we're going through things, because we don't connect with someone, and someone may be feeling it, others may not. It's all types of scenarios are playing out.
Well, exactly, and I mean, I think you said something earlier, just a moment ago, about everybody is coming to question their relationships and what they're doing with their lives and meaning, and so it almost seems like it's causing a lot of people to become very internalized and perhaps projecting things onto others as like, you're the reason for my unhappiness, or I don't know. It just seems like I'm dealing with that stuff in my own life. That's what came up for me with my family of origin stuff, which I guess I'm so thankful for that it's coming up, so I can finally let it go. Because I just think, to me, that the stuff about programming is so interesting. And so, if we're going to this retreat, and I am going to the retreat, I'm so psyched. I'm going to see you and everybody and be able to have the time to do this stuff. So can you give me some examples of how we would work through, like, say for me, it's an issue with my family of origin and issues of feeling rejected or not good enough, or maybe that's holding me back from being successful in my life, or I don't know what it's, but how would you help me at the retreat with, what would you do with me?
Well, we're going to do processes. So if you are one of the individuals that want to have that sort of one-on-one thing happening in the group, then we will definitely focus on what's going on, because the thing is, whatever you're experiencing, many other people are experiencing in different levels or intensities, or because I've seen it when I've done it in groups, and you may have been at one of them when we did that, when we did the one on clearing. It affected 6 or 7 other people in the event or in the retreat at the same time, because they all had something that related to it. So we would go through whatever is going on, because realistically, you said it very much so, with situations are happening and you're blaming other people for your situation. I'm not saying you, but in many cases people do that too, where my life is a mess because of such and such, or because of this situation, because it's not only people, it's also situations and so forth. And we will go into the program that is that, because for us to project out, to blame others, that's a very intelligent program that the ego mind uses. Because if you look at yourself, for example, why something is happening, then you're going to discover the story that actually gives the power to whatever's happening to. And then you get to realize that you're actually co-creating it and supporting it and stimulating it for your own use. So it does everything possible to keep you away from, because that's how that artificial intelligence works, to keep you away from seeing how you're part of it and saying, well, I am the victim, you're the victimizer, my life is a mess because of this situation or this person or because of this or that. Because that is easier to cope with, and that's easier to stay in a sleep state, and that gives more power to this artificial intelligence, which we call the ego. So in essence, we would discover that. We would go into it. We would get into the operating system of it and help shift it, and basically shift it so that, in fact, that we actually set it on track with the way it does operate, rather, the way it truly is, so that an empowerment comes in and you actually see and able to experience that you can shift that, so that you're not bound in that operating system of this ego, artificial intelligence, and the stories that it plays out. So we would do processes on that one-on-one in a group environment, and we will work with various people as we go through it. That's the first part. Second part, we'll be doing group stuff that we actually work on, what can you call, more common programs and so forth that people are dealing with that, is very similar to people. So we would do that. And we have it broken down in such a way so that it gives you the opportunity to experience it from different angles, so that, in fact, it's not just, we're not looking at it from one perspective, we're looking at several other perspectives at the same time, so that when we are actually dealing with the program and even the intelligence of the artificial intelligence, that we are, creating a shift within its own operating system. Because if you challenge it to some degree, thank you. Right. Word wasn't coming out. Degree, you'll notice that it loses its stability, because it almost like you get out of the range of its computing. I've had this experience with many people over all these years that I've been working with people, that once you challenge the ego mind or the artificial intelligence to a point where it actually has to go and dig up the story that it's doing or how it's functioning, you can get it to a point where it loses its capacity to be able to maintain a fixed story and continue to stream it as a projection. And it actually starts to break it down. So you actually shift its own viewpoint. So the artificial intelligence, in most cases, backs off, but in other cases, actually takes a whole different perspective. And then we also get into the negotiation part, because we can negotiate with this artificial intelligence as long as you're pretty firm with it and work with it. It's not, if you're going in there, why, stop, I don't want to deal with this anymore. That's basically artificial intelligence talking with artificial intelligence. It's going to have a game, okay? It's going to have, some fun times with it rather than, backing off or anything of that nature. But when you're coming in from a higher perspective and you're really helping it to see how it functions and how even the story that it's held, that it's somebody else's fault, and then you bring it to the realization that it's actually very involved in its creation and projection, it backs off and it loses the control and power that it had over you. So these are some of the processes that we'll be doing while we're there.
Cool. So that's really interesting that you call it artificial intelligence, ego. I've not heard that before.
Yeah, I haven't been saying much about it until just several months ago. So, in a few of my talks and so forth, I have been bringing it up as that because people are more apt to listen to it now or listen and understand it because artificial intelligence is kind of a scary thing. So, because really, when you really look at it, how does our ego mind come in? It's not our natural operating system. It never was. It was an implant that was put in. It's part of the inverted matrix, okay? So the inverted matrix works with the ego, and it's a software that actually works together. They work together. So the ego is not about raising your vibration. It's not about higher consciousness. It's not about, evolving. It's not about, creating a new reality in your life. The ego mind, the artificial intelligence, is basically designed to keep you the status quo and actually degrade your capacity to be able to connect with who you are. So in essence, it will keep you so busy, so wrapped up in emotional charges and also affecting your body consciousness and your emotional consciousness that in essence you almost like you're gasping for air all the time and you never have time to do anything else because you're just trying to stay alive. And that's what the ego mind does. And the other thing it likes to do is actually label. And so the labels is, the roles that you take on and says, this is who you are. And then, the experiences it listens or hears or learns from others. If somebody said to you, you're a loser, or you've heard that several times, then it adds a label. Say, you're a loser at one level, and it'll keep reminding you of that. So anytime you want to step out of it or something like that, it reminds you that you're that. The other thing is that it also puts importance on money. It puts on importance on your career. It puts your importance on the way you look and how you represent. It puts importance on what people think or say or, how people perceive you. So it keeps you so wrapped up, so busy. This is what this thing is designed to do, that in fact you never get to look outside of any more than that little world that it creates. And that world is a spiral of thoughts and stories and programs and belief systems and labels and all of it is related into 3D, and all of it is in lower frequency. Lower states of consciousness. Wow.
That is such an intense way of looking at it. So it almost feels like, would you say that that part of our operating system has been maybe like the volume's been turned up on the ego for the collective in the last year or two, a few years?
Well, let's put it this way. The artificial intelligence and the matrix has been highly, 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 highly challenged. So in its way of defending itself, the volume, like you said, is increased. So the intensity is increased. So in fact, what you're seeing is more polarity, which relates to us feeling more crazy, feeling ourselves more out of balance, feeling ourselves in some way that we're, totally losing it, and you don't even know what reality is anymore. That's the thing. And then it also increases it to the point where you give up, and you say, okay, I give up. And then it says, okay, I'll take care of you, and this is how we take care of you. let's stay the status quo. Let's work on the way that we've been programmed and so forth, and you're going to be safe and secure there, right? But the problem is you have the contradictory energies coming in that say there's no such thing as safe and security, and that's not what you want, because that's false safe and security. There's no such thing as safe and security, because first of all, nobody's unsafe, and security is just another state of mind, and it's another operating system. It's an illusionary projection. But in essence, it's saying, well, with the illusion of safe and secure and safe, and whatever you want to call it, then you stay within this box, these labels, these stories, these belief systems, these barriers that we've put in, and all these walls that we've put in. And if we stay small and stay in there, then you'll be okay. But these energies are also stimulating your higher aspect. It's also stimulating your awareness, and it's also stimulating the true essence of you to kind of emerge. So staying in that box becomes very difficult. So there's a part of you trying to bust out of the box. The other part of you, the artificial intelligence, saying, no, you can't bust out of the box because I can't. It will be out of my realm, and I can't help you. And I'm here to save you and protect you and make you secure and all of this stuff. And by the way, everything that we've experienced, we have backup because, in fact, that we've had it in our past, and others are doing the same thing. So it uses that as its resource. But your higher self is saying totally different story. It's saying, listen, we're upgrading, we're infinite, we're powerful essence of beingness. We are the source of all essence that exists. We can do and play in any which way we want. And yes, we have come here to play on planet Earth on this playground and school there, but we're not here to stay limited any longer. We've done that. We've experienced it over and over and over again. Now it's time to move on, where you are embodying more of your essence while living in a human experience, so that we actually transform the human experience and the planetary playground we could call Earth. And so you have both inputs coming in. And that's why it seems crazier. This is why we're feeling it more intensely than ever before. In a good way, though, because all of it is perfect.
I think so too. I mean, although it's been a rough ride. I mean, there's highs and lows, and it just seems like a lot of souls have left the Earth. A lot of big people, a lot of famous people. I don't know if that means anything, but have a lot of people left, have a lot of souls left the Earth because it's ramping up and they just didn't want to be here, or it was time for people to go and, I don't know.
Well, the thing about departure from the planet Earth, we don't set in concrete anything, a timeline, and say, okay, I come here and I leave X day or something like that. That's a preliminary projection of some sort, and so forth. Now, what happens is there's always constant reviews. From a higher perspective, you're always constantly reviewing your journey of your life. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at what role you're playing, how it benefits, and what you have to gain from it, and what the collective can gain from it. So in essence, it's not just about us. You can say, well, the soul is done with this and it's out of here. That's true to some degree. It says, okay, I'm done with this part of it. I've done what I came here to do, or what I was able to do, because it's not always like what I came here to do I was able to accomplish. Because in many cases, if we get caught up in the artificial intelligence and we get caught up in that whole spiral, it can get very difficult. And if the advancement of the soul is not strong enough to be able to move through it, then it may find itself, okay, this is not doable at this time, so I might as well leave. But that's just from one level. The next level is, what role is it playing? So in essence, its departure will play a powerful role on two levels. One level is the fact if I'm going to go into non-form, I will be able to be more effective in facilitating, because I am not working with an artificial intelligence and possibly a compromised body or a limited body in any way, because the body is not in the equation. So that means that I can be able to be more effective to do something in non-form rather than form. So in essence, it will choose to leave in that way. The other thing is their departure kind of shakes things up too. Their energy leaving leaves one frequency, and then because they're still connected to us, they go into a higher frequency because of the already established connection that we have. For example, you take your friend Elaine. Mm-hmm. She played a very powerful role in your life, in many lives, many people in there that was in connection with her, right? Mm-hmm. However, she was able to play the role best she could while still being in the physicality with the operating system and so forth. So she did what she could. Now, yes, her soul said, okay, I'm done with this part, and I want to step up my role, and I don't want to do it in a physical form because I can't support it in the same way in the physical form, so I could be more effective in non-form. So it ends up leaving, and it causes a ripple effect and whatever else. But is her soul, her higher self, out of the equation? No, she's still connected to you. She's connected to many, 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 many people that she's connected and affected in many ways, plus connected with the collective. So she actually is much more, by 1,000 times, if not more than that, more effective in to facilitate and support people in the form that she's working now rather than the form she was working before. Yes, what she was doing before was highly, highly beneficial, but, you know, when you have to step it up, sometimes that becomes a hindrance and it becomes a limitation. So it says, okay, I can do better in non-form, so and be more effective, right? So that's kind of the choice that higher self makes, and many others that have left. Yes, so there have been many what people call, well-known and well-effective, people that are, played a role in contributing to the stuff that's going on the planet with the shifting and so forth. And they've just taken on a different role. And some, have chosen to do drop-ins, some have chosen to re-embody again, but majority are more on the back end, working with people and connecting with people and communicating through other people that are still choosing to, stay on the journey on the planet. I call them the brave souls because, in a way, if you're making a difference and you're, trucking along in a very strong pace, you need to be a quite brave soul saying, and when I say brave, because in essence it's like, okay, these intensities are pretty well, established and they can, really rock things. So I'm going to go through it no matter what I'm feeling physically, what I'm feeling emotionally, and, my higher essence and my higher self-body aspect of who I am, is still going to continue what we've agreed to do here, and that's it. So, there's been a lot, and I think I've talked about it in one of the other shows with you, or I can be, there's a lot of swapping of souls, a lot of restructuring going on, but it's all facilitating what needs to take place at this time, So, in essence, there's no misalignments going on. There are times that a soul will have to leave because the body gets so compromised and that they aren't able to function in that body, and the innate consciousness of the body has been so badly damaged. So in that case, they either choose to go into non-form, or they choose to do a drop-in, or they choose to re-enter the planet again in a different form. So these are some of the choices it will make if it wants to still participate in form on the planet.
So if we are in form right now, are you saying that we're actually more powerful in non-form? Because it sounded like that's what you were saying about, for instance, my friend Helene, which is actually more powerful now.
If it has to play a specific role, okay? Because you still need people in form, because it's like even when Elaine's coming through you now, it still has to go through you that is in form. So in essence, to make the biggest effect on a collective consciousness and to stimulate change, form is the best way while being in higher aspect at the same time. However, if the form becomes a hindrance or becomes something that is, less effective, then in non-form, you don't have the same barriers. So the reason that a soul comes on the planet, it comes for its own enlightenment. But its own enlightenment is a misnomer because of the fact that there is no such thing as self-enlightenment. There's holistic enlightenment, right? It enlightens everything, but that individual soul enlightens and facilitates other souls to enlighten, which are all from the same source essence, right? It's all from the same pool, right? So, so it comes on that, but then many of the souls actually take on agreements to be able to facilitate a much more intense way or much more hands-on type of thing. So they will be able to take on certain roles and so forth that will facilitate other aspects of themselves in bodies to do their part so that they will be a stronger contributor to the movement forward and with the transformations that are taking place. So in certain instances, in non-form, we can be more effective, depending on the role we're going to take. But in the majority of the instances, being in form is the most effective, especially when we're trying to change the playground of form, right? So even the beings that are from other planets, they do take on human forms in a lot of cases, or work through other human forms so that, in essence, they can be more effective. And even with, the soul that's in my body that actually had agreed to come here and do what it came here to do, it still took form, and I can understand why it took on form, because, in essence, to relate with other forms, and I don't like using the word form so much, but in the human projection, holographic projection, that being in there and having a deep understanding of emotions, of programs, and feelings, and how the body works and doesn't work, how information coming in relates to how we experience life, how we interact with one another, and so forth. These are all very important aspects. And even when I came here, and even with my team that I was working with and still work with, the assignments that I do require form, do require the mind, do require the physicality and its connection to Gaia and everything else. So in essence, because it's like this, you have the worldwide internet, and you can be kind of in the internet world, but you still need a computer, right, to access the internet of some sort, right? So you have your own individual computer, and you're accessing the internet. But because you're computing and making, you're taking it in, making adjustments, uploading things, like your show and whatever else, you're feeding it back into the collective. So without the computer, you wouldn't be able to do that. You may be able to kind of observe it within, not in computer, just because there's form of information there. But in essence, you still can't, function in the same way without the form.
Oh, is it like creation? I mean, you need form in a sense in order to affect creation on the 3D level?
Well, yes. I mean, if you look at source itself, okay, you look at the source. Why is it creating form? Why is it creating billions upon billions of holographic projections of worlds and galaxies and universes and so forth, and then creating solar systems, and then within the solar system you're creating all these playgrounds, which we call planets, and then we express ourselves in different expressions in form of all types of different forms, but not only forms of forms, but we're also talking about the forms in the planet, and in the plant life, the insect world, the birds, the animals, all the different aspects of expression and so forth, because they're all part of the same thing. So they all take on form to experience form and growing within that form. But that's being done everywhere, right?
Yeah. It's it being done everywhere, like not just on the Earth, it's all over.
Correct. Yes.
The multiverse. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean,
yeah.
It's being expressed everywhere, right? So in essence, form does play a role, and this is the reason it's doing it. It's okay. So I just give you a simple way of looking at it. Your source. So example, your source, and you are. But anyways, as in the source essence of who you are, you're now at an awareness of sourceness. You're it. You have a certain level of consciousness, a huge, vast level of consciousness, and you just exist. Now, how do you actually go beyond that existence? You need to start experiment. You start to create things so that you can experience what you're capable of. So you could be a gifted artist, okay? So you have the gift of art, or maybe of music, or whatever, right? But how do you express? How do you see what you can create? How far can you go with that gift? Unless you participate and do it. So, for example, if you're a musician, until you start composing and starting creating beautiful works of art in the music world, or in paintings and whatever else, if you're a different type of artist, until you start, and each time you work through it, you go through it even more and more into different levels of your own capacities. So what you're doing is, an artist doesn't stay stagnant. They continue to progress. So that's just a small micro of the macro, which is basically sourceness. That's what it does. Okay? And that's our innate essence of us. That's why we never stay stagnant. We try. What the artificial intelligence would like us to stay stagnant, but we can't stay stagnant because we are this essence, this core essence of experimenting, adventuring, pushing ourselves to see how higher levels of consciousness we can access, higher and higher levels of awareness we can, higher levels of expressions and of experience and so forth. So you see all of that it does, that we do ourselves.
It's really so fun when you look at it that way. And it's so interesting because I was just listening to, have you heard of Jim Self?
I've heard of him. Kimberly has listened to a couple of his things some years ago. I think I might have caught a little bit of his stuff, but I can't say too much about it because I don't really know.
Well, I'm sure that some of the people listening to the show have also heard of Jim Self, and I don't know, he's kind of come up on my YouTube lately. So I was listening to this, and he was talking a lot about, he works with the archangelics, as he calls them, and he was talking about the Creator, and then how the Creator made these creator gods, so to speak, like little gods, and granted them this opportunity to create, and that, it's kind of going through like the history of how the God, or what this being, all that is, split up into many, many beings. But we are all one.
Yes. So even the split up of itself, you have source. Source split in half, okay? So one half stayed consistent and was only the recorder of experiences. The other half became prime creator. So the prime creator started creating basic elements of experience and so forth, and then created more sub-creators. And then they expanded and created more, and then more sub-creators and so forth. So there's different levels of creators, right? Because each creator is in charge of, could be a part of a galaxy, could be whatever. And then some of them have merged together and worked together, too, so that, in essence, they all brought their own different spins. So, yes, there is of course, the prime creator that starts, and then all the sub-creators and sub-creators and sub-creators and sub-creators going on and on and on. And each sub-creator creates more, and that's how it expanded with all these expressions and all these planets and so forth, because each creator started creating a galaxy or solar systems and so forth. Well, none of them really actually worked on that low of a level, but in essence, they would create large masses of clusters of planets or playgrounds, and they're all holographic projections, but they're, so yeah, Jim himself is correct in what he's saying, because that's exactly what occurred. So even when somebody says source, or creator, what creator? If you're looking at the creator that created planet Earth, then there's another group that created that, which we can call one of the sub-creators. But they weren't only responsible for planet Earth; they were responsible for the whole solar system and one quadrant of the galaxy that we exist in.
So all of the belief within like the religious systems of God, there being one God, and what is the whole deal with? I mean, I'll just ask. We know that was Jesus really a person, or is there this Christed energy? Because people talk a lot about the Christ energy being our essential nature. But it seems like, I don't know, like humanity gets so caught up in stories and history.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and the history is not correct anyway. There are just a lot of stories. Now, Joshua or Jesus has his short name. He had several names that he went by, but anyways, yeah, he basically he's from a cluster of souls that basically had come and played a role on planet Earth and many other planets too, planet Earth, to actually stimulate and activate. Now, well, I was just going to say something about that. So yes, he took on form. And through form, he learned about the human experience, because he hadn't had a human experience prior to that, but he was involved in creating various expressions of the human experience. So in essence, he came along and basically said, okay, let me have the human experience directly. Let me take on a human body. Let me come through a human family. Let me have all the other human traits that they pick up and the belief systems and so forth, so that he could actually experience it. And then he started activating his higher consciousness and started to implement it into the human consciousness. And by the time he left, I mean, his consciousness is, we're all powerful beings, that we are love, and and to love one another, because the reason we love one another is because we're all aspects of one another, and that's the only way you can actually progress, because as long as you keep hating and destroying each other, there is no progress. In fact, because you just keep fragmenting and you're breaking up the fragments. So in essence, it's like, I want to build a house, and you got all this material, all these bricks, for example, but if I keep throwing the bricks away and busting up the bricks, how are you going to build up the house? So that was the whole point, is that, look at all the bricks. These bricks all make up your house here, so you need every single one. So have appreciation, love for each brick, because each brick will get you closer to finishing your house. So in essence, that was the thing he was changing around the whole love everything. Now, what is established because of his consciousness and what he implanted while in a human thing, he created what you call Christ consciousness, which is basically a cluster of consciousness, which he stimulated and created a cluster of consciousness. It's like a library or section of the library that has that consciousness and the awareness of stuff that he shared, but also how the others that were involved with him perceived it and so forth is all part of that. So when we're accessing Christ consciousness, we're basically accessing the cluster of consciousness that was. Now, he has come here a little over 2,000 years ago. He took on human form, did that part, then left the planet. But he's returned 32 other times as drop-ins for various periods of time to upgrade some of the work and also upgrade that Christ consciousness that came about at the time.
Wow.
So that's what people are talking about. It's not so much Jesus being a person. It's like anybody. You take on that physicality to relate with the physicality and be able to be more effective within the physicality, so that, it's not like this deity shows up as an apparition and gives you instructions. It's somebody that walked with you, felt with you, suffered with you, and had all the human experience with you, that is actually relating this information. It carries a lot more substance. It carries much more power than some deity just, having an apparition and giving you instructions, right? Or some being from another planet giving you some instructions. Somebody that's had experience and has had, all the challenges of what it means to be in a body can be more relatable to another individual than one that hasn't.
And exactly. And so then now this leads to you, Franco DeNicola, because that's why you came here, and in this physicality, and you've actually had to experience a lot of difficulties in the physical body in the last number of years, and other, it's forced you to kind of really be in your body and in your mind, and so you are. I'm sure that the level of your ability to relate to human beings is even more complete now than it's been in the past. So
it is. And the thing is, even though my soul, it's combined with 72 souls now, it's like 72 combined souls, but even though my soul was actually fully one of the main engineers that retooled planet Earth and created these physicalities that we're in, one of the engineers, one of the sub-creators, that was with that. Basically, I still, had to come onto planet Earth, take on a human form, go through the whole human experience, and basically, I'm doing part 2 of what so-called Jesus did. He came in to activate love. I came here to activate oneness. So there will be, there's a cluster consciousness being created and established. And it's not like Franco, but I'm just saying the soul itself, the higher aspect of itself. Yeah, even though it's using this physicality, because even Jesus, he says, what's Jesus? It was just a physicality. It was just a vehicle that I used while I was there. It's no different than any other vehicle. It was the consciousness that came within it, which was the soul that was embodying it. And it's the same thing with my soul, is because it has the consciousness and so forth. What I'm sharing from you is not from Franco making it up or telling you stuff because of his research and reading and so forth, because he hasn't. It's really coming from, from the soul speaking and saying, okay, well, this is, so my main guide is Jesus' higher self. What we know as Jesus, okay? So he's my main guide. And we've always, since I arrived on the planet, he's always been my guide. There's been other guides that have come along too, but he's always been the main guide. Now, of course, our connection is established, so it's always there, but in essence, I don't see him that often because he used to, appear in form in front of me all the time. And because at that time I had nobody else to relate with, so he would, but now that I have more capacity to relate and so forth, I don't need to have that as much, so he doesn't present himself hardly ever anymore. I haven't seen him in a couple of years or so. I still communicate with him from a telepathic aspect, but I don't see him appear, as a physicality and then have a chat, which, I love doing, and that was great while it lasted until, I don't know, I think it was in 2016 was the last time. So even though I would love to have it again, it hasn't happened.
Is that the case with all of your guides, that you're communicating just through telepathic and not visual?
Yes, none of my other guides ever actually took on, projected as a holographic form. Just my main guide had, and it was it had a necessity to do that at the time. So this is the reason it was doing that, so that I had a physical and a visual perspective and connection at the time, because it was necessary. Because again, you have to understand it was quite. Let's put it this way: when you're on a planet that has almost very low consciousness and very, very low awareness and operates very 3D, and your operating system is completely different, and you see things that other people don't see, and you understand things a certain way, you can be here fine to hold on to that, but it starts to get challenged, especially with everything that you're surrounded by, the energies and so forth. So a reference point of somebody coming in, because it wasn't like I can go and talk to anybody. Okay, and I've talked to other people over the years that are well known out in the world, bringing spiritual consciousness and so forth. But in essence, as much as I had that opportunity to connect and communicate, it wasn't enough substance for me to keep me grounded. So in essence, this is why I was getting. And then, of course, I had worked with beings, so they show up all the time, and and stuff like that. But it's harder to relate. So the reason Jesus was the guide that actually I related very well with when it came to projecting his form was because he had the human experience, right? And he had that as a reference point. Plus, he had come back 32 other times in embodiment for periods of time along the way. And so he was more familiar. And I say he because it's just the way we related to him, because not a higher aspect of soul is not gender driven or anything of that nature. And neither is anybody's soul. Just because it's in a male or female body or whatever does not mean that the soul represents that. It's really just a vehicle that came in that gender package per se.
Sure.
So that was the only thing, but the other ones hadn't, and the only other ones that, like I said, projected were all the beings, and extraterrestrials or whatever you want to call them, from different. Those ones did appear and still do, time to time and so forth, depending on what we're working on or what we need to do. So in that respect, yes, but other guides, no. It's almost like they show up in dream state sort of thing. And I communicate in that part, or that they just communicate in my mind. They tell me who they are, and then they're sharing something, so it's telepathically done, type of thing. So, and then if I meditate, I can tune in to them, and then I can ask them things, and I can get it more clearly without my mind interfering with any part of the information that it's being transmitting.
Sure. So, if we're working on ourselves and, clearing and really trying to let go of our programming and, so we come to your events, would we be able to have increased ability to communicate with our guides too? Will this facilitate increased psychic powers for the rest of us?
Well, this is one of the things the retreat does. It's not only communicating with yourself, it's also communicating with other aspects of yourself, like your guides, your angelic realms, and stuff like that. I mean, we all have that communication already. The thing is, we don't allow it to actually come through. And when we do have it come through, we kind of dilute it, or in some way discount it, or we get our ego mind to jump in there and discredit anything that we receive, and that's where the doubt comes in and so forth, right? So this is what happens when, how can I say, when we are not so closely connected to that aspect of ourselves, right, where we're not giving ourselves the opportunity to actually take that information, instead of diluted, bring it in as part of our experience and say, okay, how could I utilize this and so forth, and how does it, especially if we're asking questions, right? For example, but we have to understand, okay? Depending on our guides, some of our guides have taken on human forms. In most cases, they have some experience in human form. They may possibly not incarnated in human form, especially the angelic realms, they may have not. So if they share information, then you have to add your thing to it and say, okay, how could I use this information to enhance my experience, wherever that may be, and utilize it. Because a lot of times it says, okay, this is coming up, or if you head in this direction, the energies that you're carrying will manifest in this way, or this chain of events, or things of that nature. And then it's up to you how you choose to navigate accordingly from that point. So your guide's the same thing. I mean, it depends on the information, because I find that even when I communicate with different beings and so forth, I have to take whatever they're saying, and then I have to say, okay, how is it applicable to our human experience? Can it be used in the form it was presented? Does it need to be modified? Can we take bits and pieces of it, and so forth? So even the information as I'm sharing it with you right now, it's distilled from these levels of consciousness, and you have to say, okay, what relates and what does not relate with the human experience? What would be beneficial to share, and what is not beneficial to share? And it's the same thing with people. So as part of the experience at the retreat, yes, we'll get to play with connecting with ourselves, but also connecting with our guides. So not only our guides, our angelic realms, and so forth. Now, part of the process will be they will participate too, so they'll be there, But to have the capacity to communicate with them, that's one of the things that we are planning to do. So that will be
fun.
Another benefit to it.
It sounds like it's going to be great, and also it's nice weather, and there's a pool and a labyrinth. So I'm just really looking forward to vacation of it too.
It is. It's a vacation. What happens is you could take a vacation to some exotic place, right? Now, if you're just going to get away from your regular environment, that's already a break in itself, and it usually helps in a way. But, going to a vacation, having different experiences and so forth, it has its benefit. Going to a retreat where you're immersed in something that's going to actually create a shift in you much more intensely while getting away from everything, from your regular environment, will break that cycle. But, again, even the place we chose energetically is very, very supportive. Nature's there, very, very supportive, and there's some pretty powerful energy channels that are been established and are held there, so that it helps. So even when we call in our guides and so forth, they're there. They find it easier to enter the space, to enter that, and it is in nature, because I think it's a couple of 100 acres of forest with a spring moving through it, or a brook, whatever you want to call it, and so whenever we're there, the nature itself, Gaia itself, is supporting us, but also the energies that are coming through that are quite active there too is very facilitating. And then the energies that we bring in while we're doing it, I do bring in pretty intense, no, I shouldn't say intense, but I bring in pretty powerful energies to work with us, because I'm not just doing it 100% just by myself. I'm bringing in other aspects of yourself to help and to work together. So all of this is available for the participants, and that's why I say to people, if at all possible, don't miss this opportunity, because it's and it's so timely, because right now a lot of people are dealing with some pretty intense situations in their lives and so forth, and running away from things is not going to solve it, but for us to be able to get a higher, clearer perspective and create a shift in our operating system, and then looking at it, you'll be able to maneuver so much easier with what's going on in comparison to while you're still in the soup and simmering away.
You know, I think for me the timing is so great, and I didn't even think I was going to be able to make it, and then things just shifted, and it was like, oh, okay, sure, you can go. I mean, I have a little girl, you know, and it's not always easy for me to leave her, but it's going to work out that she's going to stay with her dad and my dad and her grandpa, and it's like everything just kind of cleared the way for me. So I imagine that that's going to happen for anybody who's meant to be there, that it's going to happen for them. And I know that, so it might seem like for people who've been to a weekend event that it's a little more money, obviously because it's 5 days, but it's actually quite reasonable, especially for those of us who are from the United States, because the exchange rate is quite good. I mean, I think it took like $300 off or more.
It is, because it's 30% cheaper for the Americans. So that makes a difference, you know. So you're definitely shaving off for like $400 or something from the price.
It's a really good deal actually. And considering you get high quality food, and there's a lot of vegetarian options, and I remember there was people that had chicken and fish, and so there's acceptance of all people there, whatever your needs are, they're catered to. And I've been there, and it was a great setting. And at night, everybody does get together, and there's events like with bonfires, and we're just talking so much too. It's so nice because everybody loves talking to each other, and I mean, I just can't wait to see all my friends again, and you and Kimberly, and it's a very supportive, loving atmosphere. So, like I said, I would highly recommend to anybody going, and I always love coming to see you, and I'm just so excited that I'm coming, and I'm wondering if there are. Let's see. There is somebody, my friend, there was somebody who was on, now she's put her hand down, but if there's somebody who wants to ask a question, can you stay on with us, Franco, while we answer some other calls? Okay.
Yes, I can do that. Yeah, go ahead, and I didn't want to monopolize our conversation there, but it seems like we've kind of done that. This show is yours, and it became all of a sudden
I know.
all around what I'm sharing.
It's due to me because I love talking to you and asking you questions. So I'm just really enjoying playing. But I mean, and also I just feel like these are really intense times. It's been hard, and like you were saying, I mean, people are really struggling. So I'm thankful that you're offering this event, and I mean, I don't know what this person's question is going to be, but we'll see. And if you could stay on with us, that would be great. If there's something more that you'd like to say about the retreat before, if people want to go to the retreat, let's give them the information that they would need to. Would they just go to your website, francodenicola.com?
Yes, it's on there. We also have it's on Facebook, on so many different places. But yes, if they go to my website, you'll be able to get additional information. Because basically on the website, it'll still take you to Eventbrite, and at Eventbrite we have a pretty extensive write-up on everything that's going to be included. And the thing is, it is 5 days, so it's a Friday. It starts Friday the 17th, so it's not this coming weekend, it's the following weekend. It starts on a Friday, and then it's full day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And the package includes accommodation, it includes the food, it includes being there, and tons of material, tons of processes, tons of work, and also time to connect and so forth. So based on some of the things that you've come to, you'll notice there'll be more time to integrate, there will be more connection time and so forth. And this is why the 5 day comes in handy because, in essence, we're not trying to cram in everything in just the 2 days, really. And then, so there was more time for us to go through it and play with things that we normally run out of time to play with. So, in essence, that's it. I mean, it's for whoever feels guided to be there, and whoever comes there will definitely have a major shift of some sort that'll take place. After the retreat, there will be everybody will get recordings, video and audio recordings of every step of the way, and so that will be also further support. And we highly recommend that people do, re-listen to it, spend some time with the replays, because in essence it reinforces the work we've done, and it keeps you on track with so that you don't totally get lost in your 3D world again. So in essence, as you're going through different things, and I'm sure you've had the experience, but many have also, that each time you listen to it, there's even more content that seems mysteriously shows up. But it's not, because it was there, but we couldn't take it all in all at once, because there's so much being offered, so much that has been, being shared throughout. So in essence, it's we take on what we can, and then the rest of it, we kind of file away. And when you re-listen, it stimulates that other part of it that we kind of filed away.
Yeah, I think that's always been very valuable to me, to listen to things again and again. And so if people can't go to the event, can they buy just the recordings?
Yes, absolutely. We will have the video and audio replays all available with any other handouts and stuff like that will be used during the time. Of course, the meditations and so forth, everything will be available for people that can't come, and that we still look after the people that can't come
That's nice.
as best as we can. If all possible, be there. If you can't be there, then the replays will be available. It'll be a lot of replays because we're going through 5 days worth of content. We're not live streaming this time around because it's hard to live stream 5 days worth of content, and the fact that you've been there, so that when we're there, it's not, for us to stay on a time schedule that's tight because there's people online waiting, and they're, they're not in the same arrangements that we are. It's trying to do that for 5 days is just really, really difficult. So in essence, this is why we're just going to keep it for replay only at this point for the people that can't be there.
I understand. It is hard. We always end up starting late because we're talking, and people. It is hard when you have a whole 5 days. I would imagine, but that's great that you'll have replays available.
Exactly. Exactly.
But you're in the moment, so you're going with the flow, and just like tonight, you were available in the very last minute to come on the show. I'm so happy that things work out that way. So, because I really had wanted to have you on my show to talk about this event, and then I just hadn't planned it with you because I've been in my own world, but look, it just fell together after all. So it's perfect for me. I'm not sure why. I just wanted to ask one more question before I take other people, and if you have to go, you can. But is there like an early bird pricing still available now for people? Like, is it discounted price?
Yes, there is. It expired on the 6th of August, but we've extended it. We left it open because we still have quite a few spots, and we'd like to have a good group of people available there. So we're holding the price as the early bird for the time being. I don't know for how long, but it's going to stay there for the time being. So yes, that is available still.
Okay.
We haven't changed it back, so it's basically still on early bird pricing. But we'd like to have people confirm as soon as possible because the thing is, we need to make the arrangements for who's going to be there, assignments, and so forth. And then, of course, they have to prep up for the people that are coming there. So if we can get it wrapped up by the weekend, that would be great, so that way we have proper numbers and we know what to tell the retreat center.
Definitely. So check it out, Franco DeNicola, and it's called Not Accessing Your True Self. What is the name of it again? What's the name of the event?
It's a self-discovery retreat, connecting with your true essence.
A self-discovery retreat, connecting with your true essence, francodenicola.com. Check it out and buy your tickets, and totally worth going. I myself am driving about 8 or 9 hours to go, and it's totally worth it. So I would highly recommend. So thank you so much, Franco, for taking all this time to be with us. And if you can hang out a little bit more, that would be great. We're going to be on air for another 15, 20 minutes. So
sure,
can you hang around a little bit? Okay, excellent.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Franco. So always love talking to you. So let's see. We're going to take this 717. I'm taking you. Hello, 717. You're on the CJ Miller Show.
I love you guys.
Oh, we love you too.
You
what's your name?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
TL to CJ. I feel like okay, we have to go through that.
TL.
I feel like you should remember my name, TL. But Eleanor to you, of course.
Franco, this is our friend Evelyn.
Oh no,
Eleanor.
He doesn't know me. He doesn't know me.
He knows you.
Oh,
Franco,
I'm kidding.
You know this girl. She's one of your fans.
I think I know her a little too well.
I think
know
we
her
do.
very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So let me just say that honestly, this has been your best, the two of you, your best interview in years. It is.
Wow.
Both of you together totally flowed. Oh my gosh. All of our higher selves are like just dancing right now. It's just wonderful. Thank you for doing this. Franco, I heard some new stuff too. Your soul's just been delighted on this call. It's amazing. And I'm honored. So thank you for doing that on behalf of everyone. I'm sure they're as grateful as I am. Thank you. So I wanted to say that, and of course, you two know how my mind works, and I had many questions as you were talking because it was just so exciting, but none of them really stuck, thank goodness. I want to say that my higher self did not clear the way for me to be there, so I do not think I'll be in attendance, but maybe she will and come and download to me, what's happening there. So I do. If I could make it, I would, and I suggest anyone listening, please, it's completely, amazingly transformative. To me, Franco, the work that you do really, really opens the way for our souls to step forward, and I know CJ and I have had a lot of connection with that, and I know she agrees. So I do encourage everyone to attend if at all possible. And so the question I had, I'm so excited about the new information I heard, but I wanted to just say or ask Franco for, confirmation and clarity. So apparently, you've been here for oneness and all the capacities that you had talked about before. So what would you say to those of us who are, kind of aware of the game and in this game that we're having such a blast with? Would you say that the awakened ones are all part of the team of bringing that forward?
Yeah, it's especially the ones that are, really taking huge steps and, are being asked to play different roles, to be able to channel certain energies, or be able to hook up to certain grid lines and so forth. Similar to yourself, being called to go to different places and so forth, and having certain connections and so forth. So, yeah, it's not just, one particular individual doing one thing. One particular individual may be playing a very instrumental component of it, but then that can't be done unless all the others are all participating, and each one takes on a role, because it's not here to redesign it by one individual. This is a team effort, okay? So it's really, most of the work I do is to help with the ones that are going to be the movers and shakers sort of thing, are basically redesigning the operating system by having their experience transformed. So, as much as I work with various people and with the people that come along, they're actually all going to be taking part in this. Everybody's connected to it, but taking more of a, how can I say it, not front seat, but in an essence, taking a more prominent role in participating and facilitating at the same time. So, it's really, it's about coming together, and we're doing it together.
And what would you say about, like, I know, we go through these waves, and CJ, like you said, it's been a really rough ride, this past year, and I know that's been for everybody, on differing degrees, of course, in situations. But there does seem to be like a huge show of people stepping forward and really like leveling up in their consciousness and what they're doing, like you said, whatever they're channeling, gate, grids, whatever it is, just really just being that beacon. It just seems like there's so much more of that, happening. So is that because of the phase that we're in, that like we're on the precipice of the next wave or phase?
Yeah, we are, and to me it's exciting, because finally there are, more and more participating. It's, being one sole piper there, and not even knowing if anything is happening, because you could hardly see anything movement. But now, yes, you're right. I mean, it's amazing to me. It's in a way, I'll use it in a basic form, saying it's tremendously heartwarming to see that. It's like, okay, all of this time and hanging in and doing all done, and now it's really taking action. It's moving forward, and there's more people, more souls in suits, basically physical suits, that are taking their roles more actively and making a huge impact and movement. So to me, what I see now is just like, all right, we know finally it's starting to really take a strong pace forward in the changes that are taking place. Even seeing individuals, even like yourself and others, how much you've changed over the years. It's like you've reinvented yourself, many times over. So, but also your role that you're playing now compared to the roles that you played before has upgraded tremendously. Yes, you may still be having the human experience and still, moving yourself through that, but that's also part and parcel of, the work, because as you're having the human experience and as you shift that human experience that you're having, it actually creates or uploads into the collective that level of consciousness and awareness and know-how to move through it, so that it becomes a resource that other aspects of yourself can use.
It's so amazing. Every time you say that, when you say that, even at retreats to all of us, I love to parrot that, because I feel like the mind and the soul and all the team pretty much in between really hears that, and the ego gets on board and realizes like whatever they're in the depths of, it's all right because they're still doing the work. So I love when you say that. I really feel that so deeply. I think everyone appreciates knowing what they're going through is serving.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is the thing that people need to understand is the fact that you're not just here, this one soul coming here and you're in fight or flight, or that you have to survive through this and this is a challenge, or in some cases people see this as a punishment, I'm working off my karma from the past, or there's a lot of belief systems and energies involved in all of that. But it's far from the truth. I mean, nobody's been sent here for punishment or anything of that. You're basically here because you've chosen to somehow advance your individualized aspect of your soul while supporting and moving through a lot of the other souls' stuff that, from the lineage and so forth, but also to be, a forerunner for the transformation that we're doing on a conscious level for the whole human experience. Because realistically, what are we doing right now? We're really transforming the human experience to its natural design, and also our playground we call Earth. So that's basically what we're doing. And so people are all part and parcel of that. The like you said, like the ego mind can get in there and create this scenario that, you're here to try to make it through, and if you do it all right, that you don't have to come back and then have all this judgment about even the possibility of coming back or anything of that nature, right? But that's just the ego mind creating that story based on its own operating system to kind of make you feel smaller or feel defeated or something of that nature, so you're staying under its control system. But in essence, that's not really what's happening.
Good. Keep repeating that to everyone. I keep using it. Thank you so much for sharing that and everything that you share. Thank you both so much.
You're very welcome.
I feel like I could just cry.
Well, that's a good thing, too.
I mean it. I'm in such gratitude. It's just, from when we all start doing the retreats, I guess that was 2014 till now, I do feel like it's just been an incredible journey, and I'm so thrilled to be on it with you guys. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being one of the brave souls being here and doing all that you're doing.
You're welcome. Thank you, CJ. I can't wait to connect with you.
I love you. I miss you. We have to talk more.
Come to Sedona, you guys. The next retreat. Everybody listening, get on Franco's case. I'll set it up. Sedona. Come to Sedona.
That would be so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm going to be here at least another year. So please, yes, CJ, all of you, please. At CJ, you know how we work. At the retreat, you get everybody on board, and then you bombard Franco and Kimberly with Sedona, and just know that I'll be here home base and I'll help, okay?
Maybe we should do
I haven't done
FaceTime.
I haven't done a retreat in Sedona in years, and I would love to. As long as we have the people that are interested to come together, I'll be there.
Okay. Then I just got permission to start that process.
Okay. Party. We'll be there.
All right, guys. Thank you. I love you.
Love you. Thanks so much for
You
calling,
too.
Theo. All right.
Bye.
Take care, sweetie. Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Oh, that was so great. What a nice surprise to have our old friend Theo. Yeah, it's her new name. I love your new name, Theo. It's beautiful. And this is great stuff. So, yeah, I mean, like, that's definitely a girl that she's changed her life so much since we've seen her. And I haven't seen her. It's just been too long since I've seen her. So, Sedona, we're coming. That sounds great. Gosh, we only have about 10 minutes left in the show. Is there anybody else? If there's anybody else that wants to ask a question, it doesn't appear that anybody is raising their hand. They just want to listen. So I guess we'll just say, is there anything more that you want to share, Franco, about the retreat or about your message? Is there any closing words that you have for our listeners?
Well, I mean, there's so much we can say. The thing is, at this point, what I suggest to people is, if you feel drawn to it, I mean, it's your higher self saying, okay, we need to be there. Again, this retreat is not, I'm not doing it for me, okay? And it's not like, oh, I need to do this retreat so I can feel good about myself or anything of that nature. I do this retreat because I get called to do it, and I'm here of service, and I would like to assist in any way possible. So in essence, I've put this together. And what's going to be shared, or what we're going to be doing there, it's going to be exactly what everybody needs, and will facilitate wherever you are at in your life, and that's the thing. So this has been designed, shaped, and orchestrated from all the participants that are going to be there, and and like I was saying just recently, I'm actually just going to be posting it. I started to post it and then I stopped, but in essence, because we're having this call, so I decided to hold off until I was done with the call, and then I'd get back on it. But how many of us have had, what can I say, in how often we were presented with the opportunity to make a radical shift in your life, and we didn't take it because we put everything else first. We were too busy playing with the game of life, getting caught up with the to-dos, who I need to be here for and what I need to do and whatever else, that we put that opportunity aside. But then the energy starts to increase, and we start to find that it's getting harder and harder to ignore the calling within ourselves. So what I'm saying to people is, it's being presented to you once again. So what are you going to do this time? Are you going to follow the calling and take the steps? And I've had people that have come to the retreat the very last minute, meaning they flew from wherever they were going within 2 days and made all the arrangements and came. And I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but I'm saying just when you feel it, it's like, oh, I had to be there, and so forth. And they got exactly what they needed to help them move forward in whatever way was going to be highly beneficial for them, and also for their family dynamics and the collective cluster, or the collective essence of our experience. So, the calling's here. Totally. It's up to you if you follow through or not. That's the thing.
I just want to say that it's totally, like, it might seem like a big chunk of time and money for some people, but it's really very reasonable, actually. I think I'm going to do camping because I really like being in a tent. And so for camping, I think it was less than $1,500 Canadian. And it ended up being like $1,100 American. So that's very reasonable for 5 days and an extra night. So you're coming Friday night, and then you still have 5 days. That's a lot of time. And then all your food is included, and all of these activities, and wonderful, beautiful place to be, and great company of very high vibrational people. So it's totally worth it. And bring your bug spray, people.
Yeah, nature has its little vampires there too. And the other thing I wanted to say, if anybody really, really feels so called to come and they won't be able to pay for the full amount right away, if you email us at info@francodenicola.com, we can work out a payment plan that is doable. Now, So just if you really, really need it, then we don't want to, have the situation where you can't go because you don't have the resources at that point in time. We don't want to be that. We don't want that to be an obstacle. Okay.
That's so nice.
So that's what else we just offered that just recently. So in essence, it's something new, and so
I saw that. I noticed that the pricing you offered different payment plans to people, and I think that's really so gracious and also very convenient for all different people at all different levels. But it's clear that you're doing this to really be of service, and I have been into Franco DeNicola's work ever since I first heard you back in 2011, and you've become a good friend, and I just love you and think that you're wonderful, and I'm so pleased and grateful that you're here on Earth with us now, and I think that I'm just so happy I'm gonna come and see you, and I'm really looking forward to this retreat. So
well, we definitely look forward to seeing you. It's been a while, and it's great to have you participate with us, and it's going to be a really a great experience for everyone coming along, and certainly look forward to. I love when people get together that are really wanting to make changes in their life and so forth, because then it just feels so much better. I mean, energetically and otherwise, and it just feels like home in a sense to see, like it's like families coming home, and it's like, okay, great, families coming home, let's play together, right? And and that makes it worthwhile for the work that we're doing.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great, and it is a feeling like that of being with family, and that's what I felt the first time I met the whole group of people that I met through you, and it's just great. So I look forward to meeting new friends and old friends, and Franco DeNicola, check him out, everybody. So thank you so much, Franco, for coming on the show tonight. I'm really glad that this spontaneously worked out.
I'm glad I noticed it. So
so we'll be on the lookout for you. So if people want to find your stuff on Facebook, they just put in your name, and you have a couple of different pages, and
I have
a
the
group
public page, and I have a group page and a private page. Yeah, so I have it all posted there too, and I have an event.
Excellent.
An event page also. So there's 3 different resource materials that to get hold of me.
Nice. Excellent.
Okay.
Well, thanks again, and I will be in touch with you soon. I have to end the show, so I'm gonna say goodbye to you, and so much love to you, Franco.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you so much too, and I'll say goodbye to everybody, because why not? Goodbye and good night to everyone around the world, and wherever you are, I hope you have a beautiful day or evening, and just keep showing up and keep being you. And I love you. And I love you, Franco, and thank you for being with us tonight.
You're very welcome. Everybody. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. All right, good night. Namaste, everyone. Sweet dreams. Lots of love.